need a prayer today.
I'll ask him if that'll be good.
It's the bat hour.
I don't mind doing it. I think we ought to have some preachers come from all the different churches. They can invite them to come, let one do it every time. But that's beside the point.
My dad will come up and do it.
Yeah, you can do that too.
That's during the day.
Yeah.
Almost as good.
Brad bring a beer?
What?
I said, did Brad bring a beer?
No.
It is 6:30. This is the December 13th, 2022 regular city council meeting, Rockport City Council. Would you all stand with me while we pray in honor of Christmas time? Thank you for being here. Let's pray together. Our God and our Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the season. We thank you that you cared enough for us to send your Son to take care of us and love us, to die for us. We ask, God, that you would bless this meeting as it goes on. We pray that everyone that attends will approach the meeting in a way that would be beneficial to our community and pleasing in your sight. Lord, we ask that you would watch over us. We thank you for the opportunity to be here, and we thank you that we are in a country where we're free to come together in groups and talk about the things we believe, and that people have an opportunity to speak freely in our country. I ask, Lord, that you'd watch over us and guide us through the rest of this Christmas season. Thank you again for sending your Son, Jesus, for us. Guide us and watch over us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Join us with Pledge of Allegiance with Councilperson Jackson leading.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Be seated. First item on the agenda is a presentation by Police Chief Stevens for a direct commendation award in Police Department for Isaac Leal.
Mayor, council, city staff, this is a big deal for a couple of reasons. If I could get Detective Isaac Leal to come up with me, please. Get him to stand up with me up here, if you would, and you can face the council, you can face the citizens. I would vote the citizens if you wouldn't mind. When I first came here, we have several awards that are available for officers from life-saving, for shooting well, for driving safely, a number of things that are in our policy. One that I added in particular is called the Chief's Direct Commendation Award. Most of the awards or the certifications that an officer can have and wear on their uniform, they either come from Texas Commission on Law Enforcement certification, they come from a recommendation from the staff, from up the chain of command. They're a group decision. This particular award is something that I created actually when not long after I become a chief of police, and other chiefs around the state. We talked about how to recognize exemplary, or I'll say more than exemplary, performance. And it's a direct commendation that the chief simply bestows upon an officer, a detective, a commander. It's higher than a letter of commendation. It's not quite the Medal of Valor. It's not something an officer does where they run into a burning building, where they necessarily save a life. And I've given you in the backup material all of our awards, the policy that covers our awards. And for the benefit of our citizens, I'll read what the Chief's Direct Commendation is. It's awarded to officers by the Chief of Police for specific actions well beyond the normal course of duty, and typically under extraordinary circumstances, including when an officer's timely observation diligence, perseverance, judgment, or demonstrated leadership results in the protection of life or property, the prevention of a major crime, the apprehension of a dangerous criminal, the solving of a major crime, or the performance of an act clearly exceeding what is normally required or expected. In other words, when an officer does something well beyond what's typically expected of him in day-to-day work. I put this in our policies over 2 years ago, and it's yet to be awarded. So Detective Leal will be the first Rockport police officer to receive the Chief's Direct Commendation, and it's a ribbon bar. He's a storied officer, and there's not much room. He has the maximum number, but this is one of the very highest awards, so he's going to have to take something off of there to put this one on. I'll read the citation that I wrote up so that you can see that this is well above and beyond. If you'll recall, we had several vehicle burglaries during the late summer that we just passed in 2022. Numerous vehicle burglaries occurred throughout Rockport in which more than a dozen firearms were stolen from inside vehicles. Many of these burglary reports were accompanied with home surveillance video that depicted the same suspect. Using social media and other publication methods, Detective Leal was able to identify the suspect as Joseph Clinton Edwards. Detective Leal obtained an arrest warrant and, working with RPD patrol officers and other investigators, was able to locate Edwards and take him into custody. Edwards was charged with 19 counts of vehicle burglary, 6 counts of theft of a firearm, and 1 count of firearm smuggling. Through further investigation, and I'll pause there, that was extraordinary work. That was great work. That's what we expect him to do, but Detective Leal thought to himself, but where are these guns going? What's happening to the guns? Because when we caught this suspect, there were no guns. So he wanted to know what's happening to the guns. He learned that Edwards was trading the stolen firearms for drugs to an individual in Corpus Christi known only as Itchy. Detective Leal reached out to agents with the Corpus Christi Drug Enforcement Administration field office who assisted him in identifying Itchy as Thomas Simmons. Unexpectedly, Simmons was an individual the DEA had for some time been investigating with little success for distributing assorted drugs, including the deadly drug fentanyl. Combining information from his own investigation along with this information obtained from DEA task force officers, Detective Leal secured search warrants for several locations in Corpus Christi related to Simmons' drug operations. All personnel from the RPD Criminal Investigations Division accompanied Corpus Christi DEA task force officers and Texas Department of Public Safety criminal investigators to serve the search warrants on October 4th, 2022 in Corpus Christi. Immediately prior to the search warrants being served, Simmons was strategically stopped by a Texas DPS trooper and found to be in possession of a firearm stolen during one of the Rockport vehicle burglaries. While executing the search warrants, a large amount of illegal narcotics, including methamphetamine, heroin, and cocaine, was found. Numerous stolen firearms, 4 more of which were stolen during the Rockport vehicle burglaries, were recovered along with $105,870 in U.S. currency. Additionally, several pressed pills found during the searches later tested positive for the deadly drug fentanyl and were believed to possibly be linked to several fatal fentanyl overdoses throughout the Corpus Christi area, including one which occurred in Rockport in August of 2022. We have had 1 fentanyl overdose death in Rockport, and we have strong evidence that these same pressed pills were involved in the death here in Rockport. While several other RPD investigators and patrol officers contributed to this successful investigation, Detective Leal's diligence, perseverance, field leadership, and innate investigative prowess went well beyond the normal course of duty and led to the apprehension of 2 dangerous criminals, as well as the potential prevention of violent armed crimes. Detective Leal's work on this case clearly exceeded what was normally required or expected, and his actions brought great credit upon himself and the Rockport Police Department, and were in keeping with the highest traditions of the law enforcement profession. Just come out here in the middle and get a picture.
Next item on the agenda is presentation by Chief Stevens, promotion in the police department to Officer Amos Meisner.
Okay, another favorite part of my job. You've seen this before. We have an opportunity to promote one of our own officers up into a higher rank. This is a big promotion. It's promoting an officer, what is our first line supervision rank, but also for us, it's also the command rank. If I could get Officer Meisner to come up with me. Officer Meisner began his law enforcement career nearly 8 years ago with the Rockport Police Department. Prior to graduating from the Del Mar Regional Police Academy in 2015, Officer Meisner earned an associate degree in criminal justice and holds an immediate peace officer license from the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. During his time with the RPD, Officer Meisner has become certified as a Marine Safety Officer, an advanced motor vehicle crash investigator, a field training officer, and a sexual assault family violence special investigator. Officer Meisner and his family have lived in Rockport since he joined the RPD. His spouse is an instructor at the Del Mar Regional Police Academy, one of our former officers as well, and their 3 children attend school in Aransas County Independent School District. And off-duty time, Officer Meisner enjoys spending time with family and friends, traveling, and fishing. And I want to point out, and again, you've heard me say this, that the rank of lieutenant is a big deal. Officer Meisner is going to be assigned to the night watch on weekends. That's a time when most all of us, me included, I'm at home asleep. And I put a great deal of trust in the supervision that's out in the field all the time, but certainly when I'm at home in bed. I often used to couch what the job of a police chief is you put your livelihood, you put your career in the hands of a number of people who typically are not old enough to rent a car. And so how you're able to sleep well at night is good, solid training and the right leadership. And so I'm proud to make that promotion and to have Officer Meisner out there being what is essentially the chief of police while I'm at home asleep. Let's step over here and get a picture. Congratulations. What I know from my own career, and typically my spouse comes to these promotions, wasn't able to make it this evening, but I didn't get where I'm at in a vacuum. It takes a support network, it takes family, friends, and so to recognize that, I always want to have whoever is important. It could be a spouse, could be a father, a mother, even a child, a sibling, to come up and more ceremoniously pen that new badge on the promotee's uniform. And so Officer Meisner's spouse is going to do that. Congratulations. Council, thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard. At this time, comments limited to 3 minutes will be taken from the audience from persons who have signed the speaker's card located at the table in the back of the training room of the Service Center and delivered to the City Secretary before the meeting begins, or written comments received by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting on any agenda item or any subject matter, and will be read and summarized in the minutes of the meeting. Persons wishing to address the council who have registered in the citizen participation form will have up to 3 minutes to speak. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, council may not discuss or take action on any item that has not been posted on the agenda. While civil public criticism is not prohibited, disorderly conduct or disturbance of the peace, as prohibited by law, shall be cause for the chair to terminate the offender's time to speak. I have 3 citizens to be heard cards, one from Jeff Hutt. If you'll come to the microphone and give your name and address, and you've got 3 minutes when you start.
Jeff Hutt, 26 opposition to item 17. I cannot believe it's even on the agenda. It's disappointing, one, that it was on the consent agenda and it was tried to slide through without any sort of vote or discussion. Two, this sort of technology is a violation of the very fundamentals of America. I have a couple of questions because I can't ask during the time that I would hope that you guys would ask for me, and I have to write it down. One, how will this data be stored? Two, how long will this data be stored? Three, who will have access to this data? And four, can you guarantee me that this system cannot be hacked or used either accidentally or intentionally to violate somebody's civil rights? Some of the arguments for this is that other cities have it, so that we should have it too. If I lived in San Antonio, I wouldn't be for it in San Antonio. If I lived in Houston, I wouldn't be for it in Houston. I don't try to go to those places. Rockport is not that place. Rockport is our Alamo. Like, things are going crazy out there. The federal government is pushing things that are violating our civil rights. Liberty is the most precious thing. Without liberty, not even love can exist. And I can tell you this from somebody who spent 3 years living behind what was called the Iron Curtain. This is not a slippery slope. This is an edge. Some people have said, "Oh wow, it'll help with Amber Alerts." If you're going to use this excuse about it will help with Amber Alerts, take away our guns. Because sometimes you have to make yourself unsecure in certain areas to maintain liberty for the greatest things. If you took away all our guns, if you let the police come into our houses without knocking, if you let them shine flashlights and pull over, of course there would be less crime. But we've seen what history does. We see what happens. There always ends up more crime committed by the state, by the organization. Federal funding. If you guys are doing this because you think, oh no, we're not getting any federal funding, if we turn this down, heaven forbid we're one of these places that we make our decisions on basically money that we're going to get federal, no matter what the cost of it is. Like I said, man, I have no reason to believe that you will not vote for this, but this is really crossing a line if you guys vote for it. It's you step on being tyrannical. Please don't vote for it. Thanks.
Christy Rutledge, 1411 Dana Drive. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm here speaking during the Citizens to be Heard time. There's 35 agenda items. If I wanted to speak on 5 of them, I'd get 30 seconds, 25, 45 seconds each because of your new procedures. We don't even know how to fill out the cards. So I'm not even sure that what I say tonight is going to be registered in the city minutes appropriately. Because if I spoke on 5 things, how do I know that it's not going to just all be lumped in Citizens to be Heard, that you're going to remember it 2 hours down the road? Item number 17, we've all been going to the charter review meetings. We have other things we've been talking about. This one blows me away, honestly. March 16th, 2020 was probably one of the most devastating days of my life, and that was the day that COVID closed us all down and locked us in our house, closed schools, closed my business. To think that we've come this far, getting out of that lockdown, that the first city council meeting that I was allowed to attend in person after that, I worked on getting rid of the emergency declaration. I have a federal grant. I've been managing a federal grant for 7 years. We don't know where this money has come from. It's not transparent to the citizens where this contract is about. It's free, but nothing from the federal government is free. During the American Recovery Plan free giveaway, $2 million, Brad Brundrat was new to the council, and he asked me to look it up because he knew I understood how to read grants. And we found a lot of things in the rules and regulations at the federal level that are really scary, and they're getting worse. And I'm warning you, please be transparent. Hold this off. There is no rush to do this. Find out exactly what is tied to this. Because if you're taking away my freedom, I've always felt safe in Rockport, Texas. This is my sanctuary. I left the city that I grew up in to come here and feel safe. And I'm telling you that these cameras will make me feel unsafe because I don't know what's happening to that data. And I don't know if you're tracking me. And I don't know if you're tracking my daughter. And I don't know who's tracking who. These are a violation of my civil rights, and they are a violation of my right to peace and life and liberty. And I am begging you to table this item because you don't know what strings come with it. This grant from the TxDOT is coming up from the federal government, I can promise you. I just haven't found it yet because you haven't given me enough information. I'll work with you. I'll do the research so you know what strings are tied because I care about all of our freedoms. All right? I know you want to solve crime. Thank you.
Next speaker, Nancy Bolting.
Good evening. Nancy Bolting, 201 Spanish Woods Drive, Rockport, Texas. First, I do want to apologize that I've not been able to attend any of the meetings on Wednesday evening, only because I was entrusting the people that are part of the charter review, and I know that we're going to have an opportunity to give our input as public when you get things settled. I do want to thank my representative, Ms. Hale and Deidre, who actually met with our ward. There was only 2 other people there, which was Mr. Hutt and his wife. I did have an opportunity now to print out the minutes from these charter reviews and all the different things that have been discussed. All I'm asking is that whenever you do have the public input meeting, that it is well advertised and well put out. I know we have a really hard time in this community getting that information out to the public, but it would be nice. I had a nice little schedule from Deidre that kind of pinpointed the different things that y'all were addressing. And so it makes it much easier for me to go and actually look at those items that were the top important items that you're trying to change. So that would be my only request. I appreciate the time that y'all been putting into this. I understand it's been very cumbersome, and it's only a few people that are doing it. And having worked on the comprehensive plan for 18 months and all the different public inputs that we had through that, and had those public sessions in the high school, over at the Fulton Convention Center, it's very hard to get people engaged. But I think this is probably something that we want people to be more engaged in than just to come to those Wednesday night meetings. So that's all I'm asking, is that we have it in the evening and then it's well publicized, so that we're not just reading verbiage off of the internet of an interpretation of someone, that people are actually going and looking at these items. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. We will be removing item number 10 and item number 17 from the consent agenda and placing them on the regular agenda, which would mean the next item on the agenda is item number 10, deliberate and act on awarding contract to J.M. Davidson Incorporated to replace a failed bulkhead on Nassau Drive that was damaged by Hurricane Harvey. Mr. Donahoe. Yes, we are. Yes, we're going to read them right here as soon as we get through with this item first. We can do that. If I do, I need a motion on the consent agenda before we start number 10 then.
10 and 17.
Yes.
You can approve everything else.
Okay.
The others.
I move to approve the consent agenda with items 10 and 17 removed.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, question? Call for a vote. Ward 1? Aye. Ward 2? Aye. Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Consent agenda is done. Item number 10. That's okay.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we're coming to you to ask for approval of a contract to repair a concrete bulkhead along the north side of Nassau Drive located in the Key Allegro subdivision. The piece of property is actually between the Casa Allegro condos and a property located at 77 Nassau Drive. This bulkhead was damaged due to wave action and erosion associated with Hurricane Harvey and all the storms that followed Hurricane Harvey for the last 5 years. On October 22nd, we opened bids, and there were 2 bids received. The bids package was reviewed by our engineer, and it was determined that the bid from J.M. Davidson was the low bid. If you recall, we bid this project one time before, and we only had one bidder. And we rejected the bids and then went back out and solicited bids, and this time around, we got 2 bids. The bid still came in higher than the engineer's estimate, and this is a project that is funded by a GLO grant, and we did not have enough money in the grant to pay for this project. However, we had another project inside the grant that has not been bid yet, and we're asking the GLO to combine those funds, and we have permission from the GLO to combine those funds to ensure that we have the adequate funding to do this project. Be happy to answer any questions that anybody has at this time.
2 questions for you, Chief. Just want to confirm this is on public property, City of Rockport property?
Absolutely. This is city property in a city right-of-way where this bulkhead is located.
Thank you. And the other project has not moved forward yet, will those encumbered funds affect that project?
They will not. What will happen with that project, it will be transferred to another grant.
Okay.
And so it's what we call Basin 39. It's another flood mitigation project, and that project will be funded by another grant source.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Mike, is GLO okay with the fact that we only have 2 bids to move forward?
Yes, we have letters from the GLO, and they are approving the fact that we only had 2 bidders. We had one, and they were willing to accept just one bid, but they did send us a letter and approve. And I do need to read something into the record for tonight. The grant is in the amount of $586,195.90 for GLO contract number 20-065-090-C252. And again, this is contingent upon what we're calling an amendment number 3 to the original contract, and that is to combine the funds. We've already gotten the verbal approval from GLO. They asked us to read this into the minutes for tonight, and that they're going to send us final written approval to combine the funds to ensure that this project can be done.
I move to approve item 10 as presented.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further question, discussion?
I think we may need to amend that, Councilman. Do we need to add the verbiage contingent on approval of GLO? Otherwise, we just obligated
It is
600 grand without a grant.
It's contingent upon amendment number 3, which is the letter that GLO is going to send us. And the verbiage that I read came directly from GLO that they asked me to read into the minutes.
Understood. The agenda item as written to Councilman Bondret's motion does not include the contingency language.
He can redo his motion, but it's not necessary. If they don't accept it, we don't spend the money, but.
I was going under the assumption that it was as presented during in the minutes.
Okay, fair enough.
If you want me to amend it, I'll try.
Obviously, I didn't take a stab at it because I didn't know how to go about it, but, okay, the contingency language not in the agenda item as it's written in here, so I think it might be to our benefit to clarify the motion. Teresa, if you wrote it the right way, then can you restate the motion for us, please?
Mr. Bundred will move to approve awarding the contract to Pam Davidson Inc. to replace a bulkhead, failed bulkhead on Nassau Drive that was damaged by Hurricane Harvey in the amount of $586,195.90. GLO contract number 2006590 C252, and the award is contingent upon GLO approval of state contract amendment number 3.
You said that, Brad? That's pretty good.
As presented.
That's pretty good. Okay, no further comments, sir.
Any further discussion? If not, call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. At this point, I have citizen participation forms from a group of individuals related to item number 17, which we removed from the consent agenda. They will be read into the record at this time by council members.
Beva Lippy, 126 Sun Harbor Street, Rockport, Texas, item 17. I oppose any plan to implement traffic surveillance cameras in the Rockport area. The intrusion of privacy and any cost associated to this proposal is unnecessary and ill-advised in my opinion. Please do not go down this road. Patrick Kane, 1123 East Cedar Street, Rockport, Texas, item 17. I am requesting agenda item 17 be removed from the consent agenda so that the public can understand the city's intent behind installing six fixed pole mounted automatic license plate cameras in and around the city. I have several concerns, including the automatic renewal of successive 24-month terms as shown on pages 94 and 108. Renewing this agreement should require a conscious decision of a future city council instead of being automatic. 2, potential installation costs not covered by the grant as shown on page 123. 3, local costs to manage and retain the surveillance data which are not covered by the grant. 4, and most importantly, I'm concerned this technology is being deployed with too few rules and that it will become a tool for mass routine location tracking and surveillance. License plate readers can serve a legitimate law enforcement purpose when they alert police to the location of a car associated with a criminal investigation. But such instances account for a tiny fraction of the license plate scans, and too many police departments are storing millions of records about innocent drivers. Automatic license plate readers have the potential to create permanent records of virtually everywhere any of us have driven, radically transforming the consequences of leaving home to pursue private life and opening up many opportunities for abuse. The tracking of people's location constitutes a significant invasion of privacy, which can reveal many things about their lives, such as what friends, doctors, protests, political events, or churches a person may visit. In our society, it is a core principle that the government does not invade people's privacy and collect information about citizens' innocent activities just in case they do something wrong. This agenda item should not be approved until local policies on license plate readers have been developed with regards to proper use, retention periods, and reporting requirements.
We have Rhonda Allen, 1602 South Church Street. She is opposed. I am completely against this proposal. It is an invasion of privacy. We live in a constitutional republic, and surveillance of American citizens without a warrant is prohibited. Do not adopt a communist ideology. You get what I'm saying. All right, next one here is going to be Debbie West on 732 Sturt Street. And this is opposed. I can see no logical reason for license plate cameras. We don't live in a 1984 society, and there is no need for spying on our citizens. Plus, the cost to install and someone to view any footage would be ridiculous. Our country has laws. If citizens don't abide by them, it's a policing job to catch them. We don't need or want spy equipment surveilling our community. We all know how criminals work. Do your jobs, investigate. Thank you for your time.
Ed Light, he is at 126 Sun Harbor Street, reference to item 17 as well. I oppose any plan to implement traffic surveillance cameras in the Rockport area. The intrusion to privacy and any cost associated to this proposal is unnecessary and ill-advised in my opinion. Please do not go down this road. Jack Lawrence at 30 Flamingo, also item 17. I'm very much opposed to automatic license plate cameras in Rockport. Please do not turn Rockport into a police surveillance city.
David Roberts, 106 South Sierra Woods Drive. I don't support the idea of traffic cams in Rockport or anywhere else. We must not allow tech to destroy our rights. And then Tom Rodino, 183 Heron Oaks. Regarding proposed license plate cameras, I am strongly opposed to the proposed installation of license plate cameras in Rockport. I have lived in areas where similar cameras were installed and then uninstalled due to unsatisfactory performance. They collect a huge amount of data at a substantial cost with little, if any, proven return of value. Maintenance is another expense, and reliability, especially in adverse weather, is questionable. I strongly urge you to insist on seeing solid evidence of the value that would accrue from such installations in cities comparable to Rockport before giving the proposal any serious consideration. Sincerely, Tom Rodino.
Those are the total items we have by the citizen participation forms. We'll call item number 17, deliberate and act on resolution authorizing the chief of police to execute an agreement with Flock Safety Incorporated for 6 fixed pole-mounted automatic license plate cameras in and around the city. Chief.
Mayor, I make a motion that we postpone this agenda item indefinitely.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Indefinitely?
Indefinitely.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Regarding the proposed indefinite, I personally would like to hear the presentation. I know that a lot of questions a flurry of questions have come out to you. I believe you've done a decent job answering at least the ones I've gotten to you. There's been more. So I would at least like to receive the presentation. Whether I ultimately vote on it or not in favor is a different story.
I'll allow the presentation. Go ahead, Chief.
There's been a lot of questions, and rightfully so. I think that it makes anyone uneasy whenever they have a belief, a feeling, whether it's accurate or inaccurate, that the government, certainly the law enforcement branch of government, might be spying on them or watching their every move. It would make me uneasy as well. I've done an entire career in law enforcement and in military intelligence, and to include intelligence oversight. So I understand those concerns, and I appreciate those concerns, and I've taken a lot of notes throughout the day to try to address some of those and answer a lot of those questions. I don't know that I'll be able to, because again, there's a lot of them, and again, rightfully so. The one thing that I want to, that I read is kind of a common thread throughout some of the questions and concerns, is that these are not traffic cameras per se. I think there was some misconception that they're associated with historically with the red light cameras, if you will, and they're not at all. They're nothing like that. They don't generate citations. There'll be no citations in the mail. They're not anything like that at all. So hopefully, and if there's any other questions about that, I'm happy to answer that. But they're not anything like that whatsoever. They don't generate and when somebody passes through it, if they sped by, if they weren't wearing a seatbelt, anything like that, they don't generate a traffic-related charge. So I'd like to try to put that at ease if people, because that's what we think about is red light cameras. Immediately we say traffic cameras, and it's not that at all. I really kind of want to start with the fact that automatic license plate readers are already used throughout Aransas County. The sheriff's office has them, and we have them as well, and have been using them for some time. Our Stone Garden grant vehicles, the two new ones that we have coming, those have those on, that technology is already in place. It's a mobile platform. We have a fixed one already that we have used, and they're in place. We have agreements in place with the Texas Department of Public Safety. The information that's gathered from those devices is already well regulated through CJIS, the Criminal Justice Information System. There was one question, again, I think it was either one you read or it was from a presenter that wants to know, how is this secured? Is there a guarantee it will never be hacked, stolen? Of course, there's no absolute guarantee, but CJIS is very secure. The police department's audited all of the time. We have inspectors come through and make sure that our computer passwords are in place. The people that clean the building have to be CJIS compliant, all of these things. So it's very, very, I think, as secure as it could possibly be. In this particular case, with this company, with Flock, we're not storing any of the information at all. For the devices that we already have, where it does store it, it's stored for 30 days maximum, and that's only in case we need to go back and look at something. But typically, whenever we use this, it's forward-looking, so that if we had a crime committed and the witnesses said, or somebody's Ring doorbell camera showed us that the suspect might be a blue Chevrolet pickup with an R and a T in the license plate. Well, we would input that, and we would only get returns back forward-looking for that very discriminant description. That's what this technology does, is it looks for that particular thing. I'll offer a couple of more points, and then I think it best if I can just try to answer some questions that you guys have and that your constituents have brought up. That anytime there's new law enforcement technology, it does worry us. It has throughout the history, all the way back to fingerprinting, DNA. I can tell you that far more often that new technology works to exonerate the innocent than it does to capture the guilty, and that's always our goal. We always have that in mind. When DNA first came about, a very brief history lesson, in England, the first use of DNA technology was to exonerate the individual that was everyone was sure had committed a series of sexual assaults, and DNA cleared that individual. And DNA technology has done just that. It's cleared more people than it has actually found to be the true perpetrator. Camera technology has done the same thing. Rather than, and I think there is a misconception with this, that we're putting out a wide net to surveil people, it actually helps us, not all the time, but when a crime's occurred, it helps us stay focused on who the perpetrator might be, rather than going off in the wrong directions. We're looking for a particular description of a vehicle. This technology has no facial recognition aspects to it. We don't know who's driving the car. Our policies are already in place. We're fine-tuning them for this particular platform versus what we already have. That policy will be set before this is deployed. But again, we already have policies in place that prohibit a stop to be made without confirming through dispatch, through the in-car computer, that this is the right vehicle. A stop cannot be made simply because of a hit that comes off of an LPR camera system. That's not allowed. I can tell you that, again, from literally a lifetime, almost 35 years of doing this work, I'll say virtually impossible, but it really would be impossible for me to know Mr. Donahoe's life pattern with this. You just couldn't do it. Where these cameras will be placed are on basically the outskirts of town, on TxDOT rights of way, on the bypass, on Business 35. And I'll give you how we chose those locations. I'll tell you why that. If I wanted to surveil Mr. Donahoe, I simply could not do it with these. It was just, I could know if for legitimate or illegitimate reasons, one, I would have to input his vehicle, his license tag number. Now, there would be a record of that. I couldn't hide from doing that. There must be a record that I put in Mike Donahoe's tag number, and then it would tell me that he left town. I have no idea where he went. I don't know where he went in town. I have no idea. These cameras could never tell me that. So if I wanted to know what he's been up to, again, for a legitimate reason or an illegitimate reason, I'd have to do it traditionally like we've always done. It would take me 5, 6, 7 unmarked vehicles and plainclothes detectives to follow him around 24/7. And the way that I would really do it is I would ping his cell phone, because we all have cell phones. And that's how people are surveilled, is through the technology that mine's over there, but that we keep in our pocket. Through social media, things like that. These cameras simply could not do that. It's just virtually, and I'll even say it's just impossible to do it with these cameras. You have to ask it a question, and then it gives you an answer to that you must verify before you act on it. And that's the rules of this. It's state law. It's our policies. It simply can't be. I suppose if you really worked it, you could misuse it, but it wouldn't take long to catch someone misusing this technology to do that. We chose the routes that we chose, or the places that we chose, because I know from the short time I've been here, I'm in my 4th year in Rockport, the majority, and I'll say probably the vast majority of the crime, people ask me all the time, what's the crime like in Rockport? Well, it comes into Rockport. Just like the award we did earlier, that's Corpus Christi crime that bleeds over into us. And so when we have major crime, we have big crimes, this will help me solve that. And when we solve these burglaries, I end up solving them after a rash of car burglars, after a rash of whichever type of crime it is. And what I want to do is try to solve them in the middle before more people are victimized, either with serious property crimes or with violent crimes. I'd like to catch it earlier, because we knew that it was a red, I can't remember what type of car, but we had a car description early on from the Ring doorbell cameras that everybody has, right? But I don't have the manpower to look for that car. And if I tell you that it's a red Chevy pickup, and I know two numbers in the license plate, even the best officer might be sitting next to it in the traffic lot at the trap. But I got stuff going on, calls are coming in, they're headed to a wreck down the road, and they don't notice that the suspect vehicle is right next to them, even the best officers. And I'm one of the most terrible at it. I've probably sat next to dozens of stolen cars and don't know it. But that LPR camera, it's going to hit it every time, and all it's going to tell me is going to come back and say, hey, 2-3 days ago, you asked me to look for a red Chevrolet pickup with an R and a T in the license plate. Here's 3. Can't act on that because I don't know which one it is, but it gives me something to go on, so I can start looking and saying, well, here's one that came through on the day that I had 3 car burglaries, and the same one came through the 2 nights later, and that's how that technology would work, and that's all there is to it. There's really nothing more to that technology. And it's a Corpus Christi, or they're from Ingleside. They're from somewhere outside of Rockport, and I can interrupt that crime before more people are victimized, and that's what we're looking to do. And it does have 30 days of historical data, so I can look back and say, well, I had 4 vehicle burglaries, 25 days ago. Maybe they were responsible for that as well. But I can't look back 2 years, 3 years, nothing. It doesn't hold that kind of data. It doesn't do that. One of the other big reasons that we chose that direction is you guys all know this. We are on a corridor from the valley to Houston for illegal migration, for human smuggling. You've seen the things that we've put out. It was not even a month ago that we had a pursuit that went all the way down to Fulton Beach Road, and 5 illegal aliens bailed out of the vehicle, and we chased that car, ended up back into a neighborhood. We caught one of the migrants. Those were 2 juveniles that were smuggling people, and they come through here all the time. I think one of the comments we had is, why are we doing this when the border's out of control? This program helps with that. It helps us know and get a picture that if there's a vehicle that Border Patrol is looking for, we'll know, hey, it just came into the town, and we might be able to intercept that vehicle and deal with that issue as well. and we work off some of those grants. That's a quick overview. Again, I appreciate, and these are valid concerns that came up about funding. There's no maintenance costs with it. Flock, we basically rent it. Flock owns all the equipment. They do all the maintenance. They handle all of that. We simply tell them where to put it. And the fact is, if we don't like it, there's a clause in this contract where we can cancel it and walk away from it. They come get their stuff and go away. It's really that simple. I don't want to hard sell it to you. I just want to make sure that you understand that it really would be impossible to use this to spy on people. But I don't want to diminish people's concerns, because I know that they're real. Anytime the government has an ability to see that you drove down a particular street, I always say that our citizens, they have no problem with a police helicopter, but if it's an unmanned deal, no one likes that. It just, the only difference really is where the pilots sit. And so no one likes an unattended camera up on a street line, and I get that. I fully understand that. With that, I'm happy to sit down, go over our policies with anyone, any citizen or any one of you individually, to show you what this entails.
Am I allowed to converse here? Since you already put a motion.
We have a motion and a second, so
I'm deliberating.
as discussion, absolutely.
Because I wanted, before we made the motion, I wanted to voice my concerns, which I appreciate everything that you had said. So I had asked these concerns, and I did not get my answer, which was a little bit, I would like to see what you
I thought I had answered all the emails.
It's okay.
If I did, I apologize. But I'm glad to answer what I can now.
So I have a few concerns with it. I had read that the software does need to be customized to your certain area, usually to make it work to its highest level. If you read through their actual website and through reviews and everything, they do have to do that, to customize, to make it fit to your actual area, to make it to its optimal, high resolution and all that kind of stuff. This is just a question. That's something I read, and that was through multiple different articles. It's their website. Another thing is, it does cost a fee to run that software and to hold that into their cloud. And it says that in our contract that you had sent out, it does state in there through the time that they say, which I think is about 2 years. So is there going to be additional fees after that, after our timeline is off?
If we want to continue the program after the 2 years, we would just re-up the contract.
But that would be something that I would like to see in front of me if I'm going to make a decision to run a program. If we do decide, I would like to know what the fees would be, so I know what I'm even trying to.
Well, there are no additional fees.
Well, after that, if we decide to go further, there will be fees on that software.
And our plan is that if we want to continue it past this 24 months, I would bring it back and either budget for it or find another grant to cover it.
So this is just a concern that I had. Also, I had saw that they have, like you had mentioned, they have their own cloud that they put all this into. How do we in-house make sure that they're protecting their cloud and making sure that they're handling their situation correctly, and that our residents and stuff
so
are
I'll tell you
there?
that the reason that we're actually here tonight, again, we're using this technology already, and this item doesn't reach the threshold that I would have brought it to council anyway, except that Flock, I think it's a great company. I've researched them, and they're fully CGIS compliant, but they're not willing to go to engage with us if they don't have a resolution from our council, because they want to ensure that, hey, they are a completely CGIS compliant company, and in order for them to get their, I'll say MOU, it may be another similar agreement with TxDOT, they want this resolution in order to make sure that it's fully transparent with what they're doing, to assure people that, hey, they're not storing it on a flash drive in somebody's pocket. It is a fully CGIS compliant system that dumps stuff every 30 days.
So, and again, this is just for my research here.
Sure.
They actually, normally what they do is they go to a city and do a presentation themselves in front of the council.
They do, and they've offered to, and I've got them on standby, and if we want to hear from them, they're glad to. If we want to come back later on, they'll come and give a full presentation. It's my fault. I didn't realize that it would be, since we've already used the technology, we already have this stuff in place. Again, I own that we didn't already plan for that, for them to come and give a full presentation. Again, they've got a full slide deck that they'll come and they'll show to you to explain how their system works and everything. Since we're not new to the technology and we're already using it, it's not new to us, I guess is what I'm saying, where Flock typically goes in when it's brand new for an agency who doesn't have policies and things like that. So I own that, though. I should have seen that ahead of time and made sure that they were available. I've talked to them today, and they're happy to do that at a later date. If you table it or if you want to do it down the road, obviously it's y'all's decision.
And just coming from, and I'm sorry guys, you guys, but coming from me, it is new to me. So if I'm voting on something, if I'm putting something through, I would like to know what I'm voting on. So that's just a thing that kind of, again, that's what I was just wondering why that presentation wasn't made. So I appreciate that answer. And then my last thing, final thing is you had said that you were going to choose where these cameras go, but in the contract, it does have a clause that they get the last say where these items go.
Right,
so I'm going to make sure that is something that really does concern me. Because if it's going to go in an area that doesn't even work for us, that doesn't do us any good.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. They get, so we choose where we put them throughout the city, but we work with them. They have years of this experience. Where they say they have final say is which side of an intersection will work best. I think for two reasons. One, to capture, to best, for it to work the best. But also, I think they want to be careful that someone who doesn't have experience with these, they don't point the camera to where it is viewing a private space. Constitutionally, there is no reasonable expectation of privacy on a highway, on a public right-of-way. That's a settled constitutional matter. When you're driving down the road, it is what it is. You're driving down the road. There's no expectation of privacy there. It's a public road. I think that they have that in there, that if an agency or a city said, well, I really want it to point right down here, they are able to go, we can't do that, because they want to maintain the integrity and the respect of their company. They have the final say to go, can't point that way. It's got to only go on a public roadway and only capture what is in the public domain, if you will. I think that's why that clause is there. But we chose where these cameras are, and they're on board with that. Now, they pinpointed that, hey, it's better to be on this side of the intersection and whatever, something like that, which pole to hang it on.
Okay, that was my comments for the night.
I think the last of my questions is specific to the grant, which was one of my inquiries. What is the grant? Which you did answer that to me, but I think you need to answer it to all. But things like, have we utilized this grant before? Is this a first time or a repeat grant we offering? The sub-award language is not in the agenda item, so some of the citizen concerns regarding what are the ties, right? So I think if you talk a little bit about that, I still think we need a little bit more backup before we completely make a final no-go, but I'd like you to have the opportunity to talk about where the funding is coming from.
It's absolutely, and it's a TxDOT grant. I can't tell you that we've used it before. I'll tell you that we were actually we were looking at funding these through another process, and then we found this grant, and we looked at buying more static cameras like what we had. Flock is a great company. Other places use it, and I think it was Mr. Hutt made the comment that we shouldn't do things just because other cities do them, and I 100% agree with that. And I want to be sure that that's on the table there. That it doesn't really matter to me necessarily how Port Lavaca's doing crime fighting versus San Antonio. I'm worried about addressing crime issues and the fear of crime in Rockport, and Flock looking at everything was a great solution for what we were looking for. And so once we found this TxDOT grant, and I don't have that in front of me, there's no string. It's not the typical grant where there's a ton of reporting and strings attached and you have to match it and things like that. So it really was an easy grant, and TxDOT's the biggest thing for them, and again, I also want to say that Mr. Hutt's right. it's not about that we're gonna find more Amber Alerts and things like that, but Truth in Lending, TxDOT's put this kind of grant out there because they do get better bang for the buck than they do with the big billboards or the electronic boards that say Silver Alert with a blue Honda. Well, those haven't worked. Again, citizens will be sitting next to that blue Honda and they're not gonna notice it. The LPR hits it every time. And then we get alerted to that. So there is a benefit of that, but that's not the overarching reason from my perspective. But it's great that TxDOT has that idea, and here's funding that we don't have to take out of our individual budget. Ms. Rutledge is correct. That money comes from somewhere, though. It still comes out of our pockets at the end of the day. Nonetheless, that's what that grant, where it's generated from, and there's never no strings attached. There's very few strings attached. We don't have a ton of reporting that we have to do for it. And then at the end of the day, if we do this and we don't want to continue it after the term for it, we don't owe anything back on the grant or anything like that. But I can get you more information on this particular grant so you'll understand it more fully.
And just what you sent me earlier was it's the Texas Department of Transportation Motor Vehicle Crime and Prevention Authority, whatever that is. So I appreciate that. Just final comment, Mayor, and I'll hush, is that, we know we have a local crime problem. Generally supportive of obviously all of your efforts. We're challenged to be able to give you additional heads in your department to do the job you need to. And so I value how we can enhance our technology capabilities to help your team do their job, but with caution. So anyways, that's all I've got, Mayor.
I have questions. Chief?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a time limit on this grant so we can apply for it?
Well,
is there an end date? Or is this a continuous, or what's the deal there?
It's not coming up anytime soon if there is. I want to, we may have already been approved for it. I have to double check that and get back to you on that. I can't give you a definitive answer. I can tell you that it's not coming up next week or anything.
Okay. And then my other question, I didn't write down, so. So, I mean, I see both sides of this argument. It's hard for me to sit in this spot where I can see both sides. And I think you're doing a great job answering questions, although I don't know all the questions you've answered because we haven't made that information public either.
Might I offer a quick comment? Is that, and this sounds campy to some people, a number of times throughout my career, my oath of office is not to protect a human, to give up our life or anything like that. People get caught up in that emotional part of it. Our oath of office is to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and of this state. And I take it very seriously. And when I swear in a new officer to the Rockport Police Department, I give them a copy of the Constitution. It's a small handheld copy. And I tell them it's an 8-minute read. And if you're slow, maybe it takes you 12 minutes. But I tell them it has to be in your car. You're required to have it with you. And I encourage them to read it right now. And, all of the books, everything you got in the academy, it all stems from all the rule book. That's the one rule book. And everything, all the laws stem from that little pamphlet, basically, that's the only promise that you make. And since I've been here, and I think that Mayor J. Rowe in his time did the same thing. We take that very seriously. I recognize fully that these are, it worries people, but it's all technology. Everything we do, when you make an arrest, you impact, the constitutional things are triggered. And so everything we do, every investigative technique, be it these cameras or anything else, they do trigger constitutional issues. So we have to take it seriously and be very cautious that we don't overstep our bounds and that we hold true to that oath, which is to uphold and protect the Constitution of the United States and of this state. So I want to just make sure that whatever you decide, again, it is what it is, that in anything that we do, we will absolutely, our policies are always reminded of that one true oath that we take, and we respect the constitutional rights of every citizen, including those
who may be arrested and charged with a crime because of evidence that was captured by this technology. And of course, I say again that this technology will also be used to avoid arresting the wrong person. And that's a very important part of what we do.
Chief, I completely understand, all right?
Absolutely.
I took an oath about 100 years ago, haven't been relieved of that oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, so help me God. And I still live by that because, well, I never got relieved by it, but I got to look at both sides.
100%. I totally agree. Absolutely.
Chief, thank you for the presentation. I know that there's LPRs in the county already, you know, they exist. You know, if you drive anywhere on one of the major thoroughfares coming out of South Texas up to anywhere, you are tracked. There's cameras that got your picture outside of Victoria, going to San Antonio. They're there, and I know that we have them in our county as well. Right now, they're mobile. They are the ones that I'm aware of. You see them on the SO cars, and I understand that they're there. I think maybe just a little bit more public education on what we have. And then moving forward, if we were to move forward with this, some public education of what these LPRs actually are and what they do, it could have helped. But, you know, I was elected by the people of my ward, and I got no support for this from the ward. So
I understand.
So, you know, I don't get to vote my opinions or my conscience. You know, I gotta respect the people I represent. So.
Absolutely.
The past, and we haven't got actually, we didn't have the funding to get all the materials together and to set up the poles and do all the work that needed to be done. But the reason that they were considered 5 years ago and more was that we knew that there were documented drug cars that ran up and down our highways, and that there were documented human trafficking vehicles that ran up and down our highways because they outran other cars, they outran the police, they got away, but they knew what the cars kind of looked like. And we wanted to be able to identify those. And it wasn't an attempt or a thought on anybody's part to try to get Mr. Hutt's car in there to see where he went all day long, and I didn't know Mr. Hutt 5 years ago, so it doesn't matter anyway, and I'm not talking ugly about him. But anybody else's that we knew, we didn't want to look at their cars, but there were people that were involved in things. Now with the fentanyl thing going on as it is, they tell us that there has been enough fentanyl come through our state to kill everybody in the United States twice now. And you have documented drug peddlers that are selling that mess. And we've got the governor trying to do everything he can to stop it. The federal people say they're trying to do that. And that would be an asset to us. Now, do I understand the people that I have talked to today and the forums that I have read? I understand what they're saying. I really do. But when we say that you could locate, for instance, an Amber Alert car. If somebody says somebody just snatched my granddaughter and they're in a blue pickup with a dent in the fender, and that's all we know, and we can tell that computer we're looking for a blue pickup with a dent in the fender before that young lady ends up dead somewhere, it meant a lot to us. We were unable to do it at the time, and I understand people's concern, but the intention of a program like this is to save people's lives and to make our lives better, to get the drug peddlers and the human peddlers and that kind of folks off the street. And I appreciate your effort in that matter. And I do understand the folks that have called us and talked to us and left us messages. So I think there is that concern, but I do appreciate your effort.
Yes, sir.
I have a motion and a second.
I'd like to amend my motion, Mayor, to strike
Okay.
Indefinite and to change that to on or after February 14th of 2023 for a presentation and other expounding information as we can present to the people.
Okay.
So that's my amendment.
Should I approve with the second? I have a motion and second. Parliamentarian, do we have to go back to the first motion and back up?
Get the amendment first.
Yes.
You take the amendment first, then you go back.
I think what you can
Okay.
simply do is.
We have an amended motion that we postpone this until after the 14th of February and have the product company come in and make a presentation. I have a second. Is there any further discussion on that? If not, I'll call for a vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Well, aye.
Mayor, aye. Now, we back up to the original motion. And do what with it? Because we amended it already. I have motion and a second. Any further discussion on the original motion? Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2?
Hold on, I'm sorry.
Me
Probably out of
too.
order.
Yeah, so you have to vote on the original motion. We already voted on the amendment.
Yeah.
Now we have to vote on the original motion. And once we vote on the original motion, then the amendment takes effect, which changes it to the amended version.
Yes, Ms. Parliamentarian, tell us again what we have to do.
Councilman Jackson. The original motion was indefinite. She amended it to say, February. So you approve the February, now you go back and vote the original one that she's approving
Okay.
to come back.
And again, we
I'm
have,
sorry. So I wanted to clarify, so the
Ward 1.
motion is for the February postponement, not the indefinite.
No, your motion is indefinite. The amendment changed it.
So an aye is for.
So once you say yes to indefinite, then the amendment kicks in to change the entire motion to be what is amended. Robert's rules.
I'm with you.
go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna say aye.
Okay. Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4. Mayor, aye. Thank you. If that satisfies our parliamentarian, we're very happy there. All right.
Thank
We're
you.
going to take a 10-minute break. It is 7:42. We'll be back at 7:52. Okay. Item number 1 on the public hearing. Item number 18, conduct a public hearing to consider a request for a conditional use permit to allow 15 RV sites along with related structures incidental to the RV park use located at 1030 Airport Road, also known as Fulton Outlots, Lot 38 being 14.70 acres, Rockport, Aransas County, Texas, currently zoned R1, first single-family dwelling district. The original request was to allow the use of a campground with 83 sites for RVs, 20 sites for tents, and a public bathhouse and laundry room. Yes, sir.
Mike Raines, 1030 Airport Road, Rockport, Texas. Yes, sir, I purchased the property, and I was under the understanding that it was already allowed to be an RV. It had been an RV park before, but unfortunately, it's reverted back to the R1 zoning, and so that's why we're trying to do the rezoning, because it's been vacant since 2019, I believe it was.
Okay. Is there anything other than what you have told us there that you would like to say about this? I've got at least 2 individuals that gave me paperwork that they would like to have read into the record on this particular item. And I talked to a gentleman that had a question that, Carrie, have you talked to Carrie already, sir?
Not yet.
Okay. Yes, and it was related to, he had purchased property and didn't get an opportunity to respond to the notice on the use of the property, as I understand it, and didn't know that there would be a meeting he could talk at tonight. So anyway, we'll get to it. Let me read into the record the 2 that I've got here. This is from Jared McCullough, who lives at 1040 Airport Road. Said, I oppose rezoning to allow a trailer park with so many RV parks already in the city and surrounding county. No one can see where this might be a wise investment. However, many of the same RV parks in the area do not have the brightest appearances. Many quickly become run down. They also make for easy theft areas, bringing a potential increase in crime or criminal acts to the area. The airport road stretch is still one of the few open and untamed areas left so closely to town. This generally quiet and tranquil area would be severely hurt by an RV park. Also, from visual impairments to the area, property values would be hurt, as well as being next door to a trailer park. As the area sits currently, it has very high value for resale and high value between the local community as a spacious residential area. I would ask that you don't go changing that. Thank you, Jared McCullough. I also have one from Robert McCullough, who lives at 344 Big Oak Drive in Atkins, Texas. My sons and I own 1040 Airport Road. We are against this permit. Airport Road is a very narrow road in poor shape, hazardous enough without more trailer traffic. Current reference to RV lots is misleading. I would hardly call what is there RV spaces. We purchased the property next to this lot because the area was single-family zoned. We intend to build 3 homes on our property, and we did not want to live next door to a business. RV parks tend to have bad reputations for a reason. They bring a bad element to the area, create noise and heavy traffic. My sons don't want to rise families next door to one. This will hurt the value of the property we just bought, as well as our neighbors' properties in the area as far as being desirable home locations. Our property is limited use as it has 5 pipeline easements across it. It will work out pretty well for 3 homes, but it can't be repurposed for business. We're limited on what we can do, and an RV park next door would limit us even further. Why zone an area in the first place if you can up and change it anytime? Zoning keeps an area looking coherent and helps keep property values aligned with each other in the area. It just makes for a better community. As a result of the possibility you didn't get a chance to let what you feel about the property be known, I will let you speak if you'd like to.
Sure. Do I pull up here?
Yes, sir. Give your name and your address, please, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Matt Anderson. me and my family live at 220 Wishart Road, which is, we just recently purchased the piece directly across the street on the south side from this potential location. And again, echoing some of the comments that were made by the other folks there, we purchased this as a place for our family to move to, and we purchased it because it was a residential neighborhood, and we are opposed to this. Again, bringing a business and dropping it into the middle of every other property on Wishart Road and on the Airport Road side is all residential, and you know, putting a business in there, any kind of business, is a complete different, you know, use than what all of us, you know, understood it to be when we purchased it and moved there. And the traffic issues that were mentioned and what have you are a concern. And the roads there, Wishart's is even smaller than Airport Road, as far as, matter of fact, part of Wishart is a dirt road. And so it's, I think the egress would potentially be on Airport, but again, the traffic situation and then putting, you know, 15 sites in there and what have you would double or triple the folks that live in that area right now overnight, and we just feel that would be detrimental. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Appreciate that.
This will come back up as an action item in just a few minutes when we get around to it. Item number 19. Conduct a public hearing on a request from Manuel Angel Estrada for permanent closure, abandonment, vacation of a 20-foot alleyway lying between lots 1 through 3 and lots 9 through 11, block 108, Manning Addition, City of Rockport, Aransas County, Texas. Do we have someone here to speak on that particular item?
Mayor and City Council, whenever there's a request for street closure, right-of-way closure, that comes to my office. There's a petition form. This item and the next two, I've received petitions. This particular one is from Mr. Manuel Angel Estrada for closure of a 20-foot alleyway, as it's described there, lying between lots 1 and 3 and lots 9 and 11, block 108, Manning Addition. I run it through the utility department, public works department before I bring it to you to make sure there's no negative impact if there's utilities located. Those departments have cleared it. They have no issue with the alleyway being vacated. It's put in the newspaper, the public hearing is, so if citizens have issues with it, they could come forward and voice their concerns. According to the ordinance, we are required to have this public hearing. Upon closure of the public hearing, there is the first reading of the ordinance. We have not received the appraisal. So council, I've asked council to postpone the other action items in the agenda until we can have the appraisal in hand and you can negotiate or talk to the person requesting it about purchase price.
Okay. Is there anyone else present that planned on asking to speak on this particular item? If not, next item is agenda item number 20. Is that right? Did I skip it? All right, very good. Conduct public hearing to consider a request from Don Buttram for permanent closure, abandonment, vacation of a 40-foot wide platted unimproved right-of-way located between blocks 21 and 22, T.P. McCampbell subdivision being 0.893 acres, City of Rockport, Aransas County, Texas.
As I stated in the previous item, this is also a request for a permanent closure of 40-foot wide platted unimproved right-of-way. They are planning on, and along with Jet 21, maybe I can take them together there. They work hand in hand, and they are planning to develop this large piece of property.
Anyone else present planned on speaking on that particular agenda item? Item number 21, conduct public hearing, consider request from Don Buttram for permanent closure and abandonment and vacation of a 40-foot wide platted unimproved right-of-way located between blocks 20 and 21, T.P. McCampbell subdivision being 2.277 acres, City of Rockport, Aransas County, Texas.
Developing this large piece of property and requesting closure of that unimproved right-of-way.
Anyone that wishes to speak on that agenda item? Number 22, deliberate and act on the first reading of an ordinance. Yes, I have to do, I turned the page and I don't see closed public hearing. I had written down on something, but I threw it away. This time we'll close the public hearing and we're on agenda item number 22. This is an action item on the agenda. Item number 22, it says deliberate and act on first reading of an ordinance authorizing the closing, vacating, and abandonment of 20-foot alleyway lying between lots 1 through 3, lots 9 through 11, block 108, Manning Addition, City of Rockport, Aransas County, Texas, providing for the terms and conditions of such vacation and abandonment, authorizing the mayor to execute a quitclaim deed for the 20-foot wide alleyway to be closed, vacated, and abandoned, and providing an effective date. As was noted, we do not have a property of value appraisal yet, and so the request is we have a motion to postpone this until such time as we have an appraisal.
I make a motion to postpone the agenda item 22 until we receive an appraisal.
Second.
I have a motion in 2 seconds. I have a motion in second.
4 seconds.
Any other question or comment? If not, call for a vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Next item, number 23. Deliberate and act on first reading of an ordinance
Motion to
authorizing.
postpone.
What?
Motion to postpone.
Yeah, I was.
You gotta read it all, really?
Yeah,
You need to read it into.
Do I need to read the caption on the?
You do. You do. You need to read
All
it.
right, as long as you already told us we don't.
Adopting the ordinance, so you're not having to read the caption.
So a
Very
motion is to postpone item number 23 pending a receipt of appraisal.
Second.
I have a motion second. Any further questions or comment? Not, we call for a vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Okay. 25, am I all right now?
24.
Turn 2 pages.
I move to postpone item number 24 until at such time.
Have a motion, have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question or comment? If not, call for a vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. This next one is different, so we have to read it. All right.
Read away, sir.
This refers back to the one that we were talking about a short time ago. Deliberate and act on first reading of an ordinance granting conditional use permit for 15 RV sites along with related structures incidental to the RV park use located at 1030 Airport Road, also known as Fulton Outlots, number 38, being 14.70 acres, Rockport, Aransas County, Texas, subject to compliance with conditions stated within this ordinance, as well as those stipulated in the City of Rockport Code of Ordinances, repealing all ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for a severability and providing for an effective date.
Good evening, Carrie Dietrich, Community Planner, City of Rockport. So Mr. Raines filed his application for the CUP originally for 83 units and some campsites and things, but realized he was not prepared to do that, and he modified it to the 15 sites that had been there before, along with some buildings that would be consistent with the use. We did have a P&Z. We had originally we had 4 oppositions, and those did create a supermajority vote. So 20% or more, actually, of the property owners in the surrounding property in the 200-foot are in opposition. So a supermajority vote required means there can only be one nay by council.
Okay.
All else must be in favor. Do you have any questions for me?
I do, Carrie, just real quick, just so we can kind of come full circle on something we've worked on for 100 years. This is now under the new CUP for the RV?
Correct.
All that, and
All the requirements, yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any further questions?
I do. Carrie, can you talk about the availability of customary city utilities for that particular area? And I apologize, I didn't get that to you sooner.
That's okay.
But I know Wishart in that area, it's hit or miss on what's available and what's not.
Yes, there is not water or sewer available in that location. There is an existing septic system on the property for the original park that he would have to, I believe he already has, but go through county environmental for approval of use, that it was adequate for what he is going to do, the new stuff. And there's a water well. And it has been deemed that it has the correct distance separation that's required by TCEQ.
Okay.
So any modifications or upgrades to the system would be permitted through county environmental.
This was an RV park in operation up until,
About 2019.
okay, a couple years ago, right?
Actually, I think Harvey did some damage, and the majority of the RVs had left due to that, but there were still, I think, 4 or 5, and it slowly just kind of dwindled until there were no more.
There's
And
no more.
I think, I want to say January or February of 2019
Okay.
was the last.
So was this purchased with the intent of it being an RV park?
Mr. Raines told me that he was told that it was an RV park, that it could, because it was before that he planned to come in and just permit. He wanted to permit it and get it going, and that's when we had to explain to him, you gotta have to have it up.
Okay.
Because he wasn't told that the grandfathering had gone away.
What was,
Non-conforming use.
we did have a P and Z meeting on it already?
We did, and P and Z recommend unanimously for approval.
Okay.
Can I ask, one of the questions I heard repeatedly was the problems with the roads. Since this is a commercial business, have you put in a road upgrade requirement?
No, there's not that requirement is not there.
Okay, thanks.
I do know that he planned for the main entrance to be Airport Road, not Wishart Road, and that he planned on the back part of the property that fronts Wishart is where he stated he wants to build his own residential dwelling.
So, yeah, my concern is with all the opposition with the neighbors. And their main concern was just because it's R1 now, and they're trying to live in a residential area. My question is actually for the owner here. Have you tried to reach out to them to figure out ways that you can maybe
She's asking me.
connect that bridge where they would be more welcoming of having you in that area?
I've had a chance to speak to a couple of them here at the meetings, and then Mr. and Ms. Knox, which is on the east side of me. We had a really nice conversation on the phone about how not to have a common fence, and then we want a little space between them so that way I can work on my fence as it needs it. I know that the requirements are to not have anything more than a 6-foot fence, but I'd be happy to go to the expense of doing an 8-foot fence if it helps the neighbors for quiet and, you know, a little bit more privacy and so forth. I do plan on making it a gated community so there's no in and out traffic. And as she was saying, Wishart Road was never going to be a use of egress or anything like that. So I was surprised after getting the property that, I mean, in the Aransas County, the CAD or CAD appraisal listing, it's still listed as neighborhood RV park. It says R1, but then it says neighborhood RV park. So there's some inconsistencies there that me and my real estate agent both found a little bit unfortunate because we didn't want to be in this position. We certainly didn't want to create a problem for anyone, but since it had been an RV park and it was marketed as an RV park investment property and sold as an investment property, that's just where we are today. So I'll hope to make it into a smaller, you know, even with 83 sites, that's about 6 sites per acre, and that's a lot of space, and I want to make it a nicer environment versus, you know, chalked in like sardines and so forth.
Okay. All right. Any further questions, council?
Carrie, he's asking for the cut for the 15 sites.
Right.
At such time that he changes his mind and wants to do 15 and a half. Kidding, but when you decide you want to expand, what's the recourse for us? Does he have to come back to ask for it, or he's already been given carte blanche?
No, he would have to come back and ask for an amendment to the CUP to make any other additional sites or campsites or anything like that. He would have to come back for an amendment to the CUP.
Do we know if this site was in operation prior to the annexation for that area?
It was.
Okay.
Any further questions?
I guess that's Danielle, to piggyback on you, that's kind of my concern is it was in operation as an RV park prior to annexation, after annexation, and then after Harvey, you know, they kind of left the area, but it was sold as an RV park, and as such, now we're just kind of requesting the cut. But unfortunately, when it's annexed, it was annexed as an R1. But that's just our rules. It comes as an R1. But it's been an RV park since I can remember. And I may violated some traffic laws back there at some point in time in my life.
Yes, in my son's car, yes. This does fall under the non-conforming use clause. If the non-conforming, once annexed, it became a legal non-conforming use. But once a non-conforming use is cease and desist for a period of time, then the property has to revert back to the zoning district that it is.
Any further questions? If not, I'll call a motion.
Make a motion to approve agenda item number 25 as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll make the second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or question? Now we'll call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4.
Nay.
Mayor, aye. Motion passes 4-1. Next item on the agenda, item number 26. Deliberate and act on first reading of an ordinance reprising and amending the City of Rockport Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Rockport, Article 1, in general, Section 98-2, definitions, and Article 6, golf carts, neighborhood electric vehicles, repealing all ordinances to the extent that they're in conflict, and providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Chief?
Welcome back to the Chief Stevens Show. Back in the summer, we updated the golf cart ordinance to outsource golf cart inspections and to include off-highway vehicles. And after a few months, we've realized that we needed to do a lot more to that ordinance. To start with, our city definition of golf cart was not in congruence with state law. So that was the beginning, and then we realized there's a lot needed to be done with it. And you've got the cover sheet. I won't bore you with what you've probably already read. That's a big thing. We had to update definitions. As the ordinance was written to include off-highway vehicles, that definition actually would allow the operation and the permitting of motocross-style all-terrain vehicles, four-wheelers and whatnot. And I recommend that we not allow that to be operated on our city streets. That's a bad idea. Dune buggies as well. And so what I've done with the ordinance, and of course we ran it by legal, is we omitted those. What I think everybody is the side-by-sides, the Polaris, the Can-Ams, and everybody, I believe, supports that, as do I. Also, as we wrote it, we didn't anticipate the outsource, that mobile operations would want to participate. So we constructed it to allow that. That's in there. I think everybody supports that. And we needed to codify the requirements so that there is consistency of what forms they are to use, what information we need to gather from those permits. And then we eliminated the NEV, the neighborhood electric vehicles. That's been in the ordinance forever. But under current state law, if we were to permit an NEV, they have to be registered like a regular car anyway, so there's really not necessary to have that in the ordinance. So I omitted that. Beyond that, in doing this, I found two other typos or definitions that needed to be updated. I just took care of that. That wasn't really related to golf carts, but it's in that part of the ordinance. That's all there is to it. I'm happy to entertain any questions you might have.
It's a lot longer than it used to be.
It really is, but merely to make sure that we're only permitting the off-highway vehicles, I think that we should have operating, in my opinion, my professional opinion, on the road. I don't think that at least it's my recommendation to you that we not allow someone to permit and ride their three-wheeler or their four-wheeler on a city street. And so to accomplish that, I needed to, or a dune buggy for that matter. So I took those parts out. So to omit that, I had to specifically identify which of the four types of off-highway vehicles we were allowing under the ordinance to be permitted.
What is a sand rail?
A dune buggy. I don't even know why it's called a sand rail, but the state definition is a dune buggy.
Something they call it California, probably.
Exactly.
Okay. Other questions?
Chief,
Go ahead.
I had a few comments. One being within the city limits of Rockport, the inspection facilities, if you will. if we maintain them in the city limits of Rockport, either be mobile or a hard, brick and mortar, the sales tax generated would stay within the city. But I know that we were having issues initially getting vendors to do it. How are we looking now?
Still, actually, there's only one inside the city that I think that exists, but that stepped up. So my thoughts on that, one of our mobile operators, his other businesses are inside the city. He lives in the donut hole, in one of the donut holes.
Okay.
So it would preclude him, even though he's coming and doing the inspections at, say, your house, you're inside the city, would come and do, but he lives in the donut hole, so he's sort of left out. Even though he'd be doing business in the city limits, his business address in the donut hole. Also, I don't, if we, say a Corpus Christi dealership that sells these, I'm fine with them going ahead and permitting it. We haven't had that, but I don't have a problem with that. I'd rather that we do that, and it's a straight fee. There is no sales tax on the fee anyway, so we don't really lose anything by doing that.
I know that when I bought my golf cart over in Corpus, they said, "Do you want the Rockport package?" And I was like, that got you the whatever, the mirrors, the flag, the horn and signals. So, I get it that whenever you buy the point of sale, if they can give you everything and
comes with the permit, and then they give us our half of it.
Let's see, some of these things, do we have the ability to supersede state law? So on the daylight hours, how we can now say, and I guess that's the difference between the NEVs and golf cart / OHVs.
Well, great question. So actually, I researched it and went through it. How is that? So if someone is operating a golf cart if they are going to and from a golf course within 5 miles of where the vehicle is normally kept, they don't need a permit. They're totally under state law, but that is daylight hours only. And that's the only part of the state law that says daylight hours only.
Okay.
So if we're permitting them, they can actually then operate if we allow them to during hours of darkness. That's how other cities are doing that, but that would have to be that they're operating it under our ordinance versus just strictly with the state law. And they have to have the liability insurance, they have to have all the equipment, they have to have the permit and all of that. If the mayor lives in the country club, if he gets a golf cart and is driving just to and from the country club, he doesn't need a permit, he doesn't need insurance, doesn't need any of the equipment, but he can only operate it during daylight hours.
Okay. So that's the difference there.
That is the difference.
Or a master plan, well, I guess that doesn't even count a master plan community.
And so oddly enough, in a master plan community that doesn't have the daylight hours restriction to it, again, when I started diving into it, it was a lot more complicated when we first took this on. And so again, I ran this by our outside legal counsel, and they've signed off on it. They said, this is tight, this is the way to go. And we'll have a completed copy without all the red lines, and it'll be a lot cleaner and easier to look through. Oh, it's in the back? Okay. That's easy to read without all that.
For the clean copy. I got so lost in the red.
Me too. And I redlined it.
If y'all will grant me a few more minutes here, there was a bunch of questions for us.
Sure.
Let's see. Medical suspensions, Texas is a can report state. Is that right? You're not for a medical suspension of a license or self-reporting, I should say. Is that correct?
It is, or if a peace officer believes that, if you've been involved in a crash and believes that was a significant factor in the crash, then we have a form we fill out, send to DPS, and then the DPS will notify you have to come in and basically resubmit for a license.
Okay. There's residents and, maybe some of our elderly who don't feel comfortable driving a vehicle to and from the store. And if they don't have that medical suspension, or maybe they do have that medical suspension, does that preclude them per our ordinance? Well, they may not have a valid driver's license, I guess.
It's actually per state law. They still have to have an operator's permit, a driver's license to drive a golf cart. Road? Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. And then does this do anything with the electric bicycles?
No, sir, it's a totally different law, and we actually have an ordinance regarding those as well, which really mirrors state law.
Okay. I think that's good for now. Let me continue to read my emails and I'll see if I got one come back for you.
Any other questions?
I was just gonna ask Chief, just anecdotally, are we seeing more participation with more options, less because they're afraid of the fee? What are you kind of seeing or hearing out there?
No, actually, it's going well enough. I think we have, I want to tell you 4 vendors now, 3 or 4. We have the one mobile vendor, we have the golf cart store, and we have the one that's in town next to the oil change place.
Harbor Cart.
Harbor Carts. There may be one other. And so far everything is going well. Again, the one thing I wanted to include here, and they're great with it, is just I want to narrow down that consistency that, hey, use this one form. And what we did was we took that they were using different forms. We took what we liked from each one and we said, all right, we like this form, and this is what we want you all to use. And so it's actually going well. Again, with the number that we're doing, I don't know that many other vendors would come on board and that's why I wanted to come and limit that, because if you're only going to do 10 carts, 20 carts a year, there's no gain for them to do that. So right now it's going well.
I probably didn't speak well. I might need some pizza here in a minute, but the customers, the folks that are using the carts, I mean, are you hearing that they're satisfied with the new options? I don't know if it's been long enough. Are you tracking, are we giving out more permits? I mean, I know you got to reconcile. It's going to take a little bit.
The number of permits is probably about the same. At first, it was going not so well because we didn't have anyone signed up. But I think, like anything, once you get over that initial, change is difficult. The 2 things people hate the most is change and the status quo. And so once we kind of got past that, I think everybody's gotten on board with it. Again, to get to us, you really couldn't, unless you lived in South Rockport, you really couldn't get to us on your golf cart without violating the law. And so now there's more options. And some people complain about having to trailer their golf cart somewhere, but people showed up to us with golf carts on trailer and on a trailer. So, but now we have several options, especially the mobile option. So far, we've gotten no complaints in the last, 2 months or more, something like that. It's really going a lot better. I judge that by lack of complaints, and yet a lot of golf carts registered at the regular rate that we'd see it normally.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I know the only thing that anybody has brought up to me, I've had people ask me, are you trying to turn us into Porter Ranches? And the idea, I think, is they drive up and down the highways, they drive up and down anywhere they want to, all hours of the day and night, nobody seems to care. I keep telling them, no, we're not trying to do that. That really won't happen. You still can't get on a street that the speed limit's more than 35 miles an hour, and you can't get on a highway, and you can't get on a farm to market road, and you can't. So anyway, and I tell them, no, that's not the case at all. I would move, but anyway. Any other question?
Yep, one more, Chief. And I utilized a mobile vendor, and it worked out great. We ended up doing four units for him, or he did 4 units for us there, and it worked out great. So no complaints there. It just worked out that he came to us. We didn't have to take him wherever. But in the ordinance, we have, I think that's what Danielle was talking about. We have no more than 1 authorized inspection facility or entity per 2,500 permanent Rockport residents. And I understand that the wanting to limit it, just I guess that's less people. We're trying to keep track of less vendors, but I would say just let the market decide. Kind of like you said, if you're only going to do 10 permits a year, you're probably not going to stick around and stay in business doing it.
So the thought process behind that is sort of like how we do the records. The sheriff and I, if there's a new record in town, we can look at that and say, right now there's not so much work. There's not enough work for the ones that we have. If there's trouble with one, it opens up a spot, but we're able to have more control over that. And in this case right here, if we have too many people out there, it sort of defeats the purpose of outsourcing it. Now I've got to spend administrative time not doing the golf cart inspections, but managing the golf cart permitting locations or the golf cart permitting stations, if you will. And so the idea behind that was, the ordinance allows that when more people come in, we can grow it by X number. Again, we're not married to that idea. It just was a number that we put in there to say seems about right, because if you divvy that up, that ensures that there's enough work for each one of them without discouraging one from saying, hey, this is not worth it, to keep them on board. But again, as we get more residents and more people come in, it offers for it to grow. As the residents grow, hopefully the department grows as well, and I'll have more staff if I have to manage it at a larger rate. But I understand what you're saying, and again, if you feel like that needs to change or increases or do away with that, it's still in its draft form.
Anything else? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve agenda item 26 as read.
Do I have a second? I'll second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, debate, or question? If not, call for vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
And Mayor, aye. Next item number 27. Here to deliberate on a presentation from our gas consultant, Simon Pena, on the status of the City of Rockport gas utility system and the potential sale of gas utility.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. As you know, we've been talking for a while, and we talked in our strategic planning conference about the current gas system and the challenges that we're facing. In the strategic planning in this year's budget, you allowed us to fund a gas consultant to look at our gas system. And tonight we have a presentation that our consultant, Simon Pena, is going to give you on the current status of our gas system, our regulatory compliance issues, and possibly the potential sale of the gas system and what's necessary with a timeline. I would like to recognize tonight we've got most of our gas departments sitting right behind me, and I want to commend these gentlemen for the job that they do every day, coming to work with a positive attitude and doing a great job working on our gas system, keeping us safe and keeping us compliant. So I will turn it over to Simon.
Hi, I'm Simon Pena. I am the principal consultant and owner of Simon R. Pena and Associates, mayor and council members. First of all, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Jean, because Jean prepared the financial part of it, and then I'll get back with the regulatory part of it. So I'll hand it over to Jean.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And good evening. And I'd like to commend the employees who sat here through everything and made it to this part of the presentation. So just a background on your background slides. The gas system was acquired in 2008, and the purchase price was $2,067,205. The general fund at that time paid $155,000 for the existing gas office building. An adjustment was made of $59,000 for the other assets, which was pipe, different tools that came with the gas company. Net purchase prices, which you do need to know, was $1,853,000. That was paid from the utility fund, and every year the natural gas fund makes annual payments to the utility fund of $90,000. As of 9/30/22, the outstanding balance was $683,000. At the end of fiscal year 2023, it'll be $593,000. And other financial background, the 2014 certificates of obligation was for $299,920, of which 2.6 of that million was paid for the CNG facilities. And that becomes important when we talk about authorities for sale of the gas company. The revenues and expenses, which are operating income, revenues minus the expenses, prior to transfers being made out to the general fund, but including the $90,000 that was paid annually for there. And the total balance over those years is $3,771,748. Transfers came out of that fund for a total of $3,894,000. The largest one occurred in 2018 for $1,022,130. That was directly after Harvey hit us. And the net income after transfers, all said and done, the largest being a deficit in 2018, $969,000. When you add everything, the revenues that were brought in by the gas company, minus all the transfers and expenses out, you're at a negative $122,000 for the gas system. Just want to show water connections and gas connections. Current as of today, we have 11,690 water connections, and we have 44,450 gas connections. A lot of rebuilds after Harvey did not go back to gas. A lot of electrical appliances were used, and then the interesting part is with the uptick in new meters for gas at this current time, 7 out of 10 new gas meter applications are for backup generators, not necessarily using appliances, but for backup generators. And I guess the slide, what it does show is an incremental growth in water meters versus kind of a plateau for gas meters, so difference in there. The crux of our situation lies in our gas pipes by type. 40% of our gas pipe is steel bare or steel coated. That's 77 miles of steel line that we have. The saltwater corrosion and groundwater environment that we're in leads to a lot of protection for this pipe so that it doesn't corrode. Cathodic protection leads a lot to our activities that we have to do to prevent this pipe. Most gas systems are of the PVC type now. Port Aransas got their whole gas system replaced after Harvey and their PVC. Why is the steel pipe such a concern? Because of the corrosion cathodic protection, the Railroad Commission requires us to replace 8% of that steel pipe every year. And that goes with the maintenance of compliance with the Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, known as PHMSA, and the Texas Railroad Commission's pipeline safety rules and regulations, which includes periodic safety inspections of the distribution system and an annual audit. We have 6 different types of audits that we go through. Some are staggered in years and some are annual, and it's a lot of work. We have a distribution integrity management plan, which keeps us in compliance with Railroad Commission regulations on this pipe. And we've recently done some GIS and ESRI modeling that brings down the number of feet in the 8% that we would have to replace for the gas system, but it's still a very high cost to us. System modeling, there was a south gate that brought gas from the south to the Rockport area. That pipe corroded enough that the gas company simply told us, we will not service you anymore. They will not assume the risk for delivery to us and shut us off. That places another burden on us that we have 2 main gates that we have to feed to bring into the city and then move that gas all the way to the south, all the way down to City by the Sea, which we only serve with gas under the system. I talked about cathodic protection, workload, and leak repair. These guys that are kind enough to support us chase leaks all day, and they fix one and it might pop up back over here, and it's just, it's a very hard workload for them on top of the new meter installs. The new meter installs are good, right guys? So 7 full-time employees with operator qualifications, and I would like to say it's a tough labor pool here in Rockport for maintenance technicians on water, sewer, and gas. And I'm very fortunate the ones that we do have show up every day and make a concerted effort to keep us in compliance. The other thing that we also share is we have a CNG facility. We recently were able to close the public side on the school because we only had one customer. So we absorbed the operation there inside the school at the bus barn. And that's where that facility lies, but that is a very costly maintenance for that facility. And also, I don't think we're considering replacement of that facility. I don't think it's been in our planning cycle what it would cost to replace that CNG facility, and we need to start looking at that also. Gas rates will have to be raised in order to meet the regulatory burden of the steel line replacement. All of this in times of material and contractor shortages. Failure to comply could lead to costly fines from the Railroad Commission. Daily average fines range from $5,000 to $10,000 depending on severity. We do a good job of a good, honest rapport with the Railroad Commission, and we have had to extend deadlines for compliance. Line replacement costs. A lot of the steel line, when we started doing the Concho Street drainage project, and then the GLO drainage project down Market, all that pipe is steel. And in these denser areas, it's harder to get your bores and your slope in to get those done. I want to point this out. Some of the Concho Street gas line moves that we had to make range from anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 for that one gas line move. And that's because these guys are working and welding on steel pipe to accept the poly, to do the bores, and have to offset their safety risk, plus some materials and technology to do that. And it's just a very expensive business when you're dealing with live gas. Other examples, Port Aransas has a gas line replacement project where they're going to spend $22 million for 51 miles of gas line, and that's roughly $435,000 per mile. If we had to do all 8% of the 77 miles of gas line, that's about 6 miles at 8% a year. So you could take 435 times 6 and you might be looking at 2.4 million. But with the modeling, we can reduce that amount and maintain compliance at this point. Why sell? There are infrastructure upgrades that are greatly needed. Larger corporations, CenterPoint, EPCOR, Atlas, they can invest in that those upgrades and bring greater line distribution and safety to our community. Economies of scale. These guys have gas operations all over the state. They have crews ready and mobile who do this in different areas. They would be able to bring a different value to addressing these concerns. Qualified personnel for various OQs, we have to constantly maintain training for our guys to operator qualifications. That's what OQ stands for. To keep them in line in regulatory. Larger companies, they already have, hey, you do regulator stations? Good, you go take care of that. All my guys have to be certified in this, and it's a different burden on a smaller crew than it is a larger company with a bigger crew. Bargaining power. You know, when I buy 2,000 feet of pipe and CenterPoint buys 1,000 miles of pipe, it's just a different scale in that and being able to bargain. They would also probably be able to call Targa, who is now handling that Southgate, and refuse to serve and say, hey, can you bring us gas? You know, and Targa probably would do it for them based on their other interactions that they have, you know, so it's just a different scale. Regulatory burden. When CenterPoint and when Regulatory Commission proposes rules and regulations, I'm not saying they don't listen to Rockport, but they definitely listen to CenterPoint if CenterPoint has a concern, and CenterPoint has the lobbying capacity and others to get the ear of a regulator. Legal authority, I wanted to touch on that real quick. Because we did the certificates of obligation back in 2014, technically we did assume public debt, and the election 1502.005 of the government code is very clear: unless authorized by a majority vote of the qualified voters of a municipality may not sell a utility system, park, or pool. There is an exception. and it applies to the sale of an unencumbered, in other words, no public gas system, owned by a municipality with a population of more than 100,000, but we don't qualify because of our population, and we are encumbered. There's several memos, legal memos out, actually advocating that we do hold a vote. I think it would be unwise, and I'm sure maybe some of our buyers would not bid if we tried to do it without a vote. And so we're asking that if you do move to sell it, that a vote be held. I'd like to introduce Simon Pena. Mike already did a good job, but I'd like to say a few good words about Simon. He's done every aspect of this business, and we're very happy to have him. He's been an operator. He's been on the regulatory side, and that's where he comes and helps us. He knows what the regulators are going to ask and do. He's also owned a gas company, so he knows the P&L part of the business and what it takes to serve. And also he's participated in numerous municipalities in their sale of their gas operations. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Simon to talk about those and the other aspects of the sale.
Okay, Mayor and council members. So now you've heard all the whole process of running the gas company, the gas department for the city, the financial part of it, the requirements, the regulatory requirements, the burden of replacing infrastructure, and that's the greatest cost to a lot of particularly municipal gas companies, putting out this capital that you're going to need to replace this infrastructure in the future. And so it's going to take a lot of money because you've got a lot of older infrastructure that needs to be replaced. So in recent times, I've assisted, just this past year alone, we had 3 other municipalities around you actually put it to the voters. The city of George West, my hometown, the city of Three Rivers, and the city of Stockdale. The city of Stockdale and the city of Three Rivers are in the final stages. They got the voter approval and they put it out for bid, and they got several bidders to propose a price, purchase price, with agreements with certain options that needed to be done on a final due diligence. So it was competitive bid. Really good prices, and the city of George West is just going to that process. And so there are other cities, municipalities across the state that are looking at the same thing that y'all are looking at, as far as what do we want to do with our gas utility. And so I can answer any questions that you may have, but one of the things is that if you decide to take it to the next step, that is, if it's necessary to get voter approval, obviously you would go to the voters at your next election, and then if they vote to give you the authority to sell the utility, again, that would be y'all's choice, then you could do that, and you could submit a request for proposal. And then, and we already have a document that I prepared for all these other communities. And then that allows potential bidders to come in and basically kick the tires, look at the utility, ask us questions, do a due diligence, and gather the facts that they need to submit a proposal. And then, of course, you, the city council, have the final say-so, whether you accept it, you don't, you keep it, you continue on. So that's, at the end of the day, it's y'all's choice. If the voters approve for y'all to do that next step. And then when that's done, accept the proposal, then the final transition is done, and then there is a sale. And I think Gene and I put a schedule together on the next page there to kind of give you an idea of what the other communities did when they went out and did the vote. And these, of course, these days and months can fluctuate depending on the circumstances from each. But this will give you a general idea of where the other cities have taken this to the point. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have of me or Gene.
Okay.
Question, council?
Quick. This probably be for Gene, but almost seems like a no-brainer to me to move forward with this, just due to the projected costs of keeping it in-house. But what would we do with our FTEs? Would they be given the opportunity to stay with the city? Hopefully, I would hope they'd be able to give them that opportunity, or, you know, if a better opportunity comes with whoever purchases the gas company, you know. But are there places in the city that the guys could move to? Maybe
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, these are really good employees with qualified credentials as far as equipment operation and other thing. And I already know they already show up.
Yeah.
And I already know they're there. So it's a big plus for us to integrate some of our operations. We're way behind on a hydrant program, a valve program, and other activities in the city. We've got plenty to do and plenty for them to do. So
okay.
Yes.
If there's not a qualified position, we'll be proposing that in the budget to reserve those people when going into jobs that we're learning about right now.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
If we were to move forward, obviously the public meeting is going to be a great opportunity for us to explain this out, but in preparations for the vote, do we have limitations in how we can publicize what the intent is from the city standpoint?
There's always limitations on lobbying corporate ends, but there's no limitation on putting out facts.
And I'm sure Mr. Pena can help us with the PR campaign that we want to put out for it and keep us in compliance with the election law for that. But yes, there's limitations always.
So what happens is if you vote to allow a vote, then the next process would be to either have like a public hearing or discussion like we're having here, where we basically discuss these numbers that we presented to you tonight. And the constituents of the community can ask questions about those numbers and could ask y'all, you know, what's your position on this if the voters decide to go for or against. And Vanessa is correct. We stand neutral. We can't, you know, say you need to vote for or against. All we're doing is providing information and facts.
Any further questions? What you need from us is continue with what you're doing and get after it.
This is informational.
Okay.
And that's
thank
also
you.
wanted to be sure that you guys knew we're proceeding with this. It will be on the January, when you call the election, so you have all the information before you see that at the first meeting in January.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
We're going to take 10 minutes. We'll be back at 9 o'clock.
long have you been in trouble with
9 o'clock, we're back in session. Item number 28 has been scratched.
Yep.
Item number 29. Deliberate and act on amendment number 1 to the standard professional services agreement with Broadus and Associates regarding the project oversight of new city hall facility. Kimberly.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I'm going to try to take up as little time as possible because you've been here for a little while. But Broadus and Associates is our project oversight for the downtown City Hall project. They help monitor not only the day-to-day options, but the bills as they come in. They're making sure that they're in compliance for normal practices and things of that nature as well. They monitor what the subs are doing and basically general oversight, provide daily notes and things to us as well. Recently, there was an item that resulted in a reduction for the city, and they even said, hey, wait a second, this reduction you're giving us is not enough. We need more of a reduction. And they kicked it back and forth, and right now it's still in negotiation, but we are working with them on that. So Mark Williams with Broadus helps provide those services for us. Another example was they noticed when they were walking the site the other day that there was some standard gypsum board products already being installed on an interior wall, which should not be done until it's climate controlled. So obviously he made contact with them, stopped that, had to pull it, said that's not right, that's at their expense, not at ours. These are the types of services Broadus provides us on a regular basis. From the information provided in the packet, you can see where they've been helpful with other things in the past, helping us get the RFP going and value engineering, things of that nature. So I don't know if y'all want me to go through some details on that, but at this time, they are asking for an additional $100,000 to bring them up to a total of $475,000, which is only 2.83% of the total construction contract, which is well within the typical 5% ratio. So, and this was also brought to y'all in January of 2022 when we were saying, hey, here's what our projected budget is for professional services and other things. And so this is still within that budget line item, even though it is an amendment to their contract, it is within line of our budget for this project. We are not asking for any additional funds that we have not already budgeted for. So the staff is recommending approval of this amendment, and we'd like to know if y'all have any questions.
No questions? I have a motion.
I make a motion to approve agenda item number 29 as read. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further question or debate? Not a call for vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Item number 30, deliberate and act on amendment to standard professional services agreement with PGAL regarding the architect and engineering of the new City Hall facility. Kimberly.
All right, PGAL was originally quoted us to do a project for 6.5% of the construction contract. Obviously, they thought the construction contract was going to come in at a certain price, and since that time, it has escalated. They've additionally helped us with other things, tremendous help with the value engineering of our project, and continues to work with Teal to bring forward possible future other value engineering things. They also work very closely with Broadus. They kind of are a checks and balance with Broadus. They say, hey, this doesn't look right, what do you think? And they kind of go back and forth and use both their resources to bring us the best price that we can get. They have also included in their packet reasoning for their request for additional funds, and they are requesting additional $250,000, bringing them up to a total of $866,179. This is inclusive of a $13,000, it's not on their information, but it is on ours, $13,000 for some incidents for traveling costs and things of that nature. We wanted to be upfront and make sure y'all knew we are watching every penny, and we are still within budget from what was presented to you in January 22 of this year. And so council, and we are still within the right around the 5% range at 5.29%, which is still less than what they requested, which was 6.5% of construction cost. Staff is recommending approval, if y'all have any questions.
Do I have a motion? Any further question or debate? If not, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve agenda item 30 as presented.
Do I have a second? I have motion second. Any further discussion? If not, we'll call for vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Deliberate and act on quote invoice with Alliance for Community Solutions regarding the security audiovisual network systems for the new City Hall facility.
Yes, sir.
Kimberly.
Alliance for Community Solutions, also known as ACS. We've been working with, the City of Rockport has been working with them since 2020 when we signed an interlocal agreement with them. When we originally started them looking at this process, we thought it would be about $1.1 million from inception. Back in January of 2022, we thought, oh, we can lower this a little bit because things were coming in pretty good. And we did attempt to lower it down to $1 million. Since that time, a few things have occurred, not to mention prices going up, but additionally, some of the things that we valued engineered out of the construction contract, now ACS has got to put back in. I guess there's things called trays that they put the lines, the electrical, not the electrical, the internet lines, the networking lines through. Those are not there now. They're going to have to go back and put something like that in, along with a few other things I'm not really savvy on, but IT department is. And IT department is not only working with ACS, they're also working with the the county to make sure both of our systems work together. Because we do want these two to be networked together to a certain degree so that if we hit a panic button, it panics them as well. They notice something's going on, and if we go into lockdown, they go, and vice versa. So we're making sure these systems work well together. So both IT departments and ACS and the county's IT representatives are all working together on this. Because of the various things that come about, we are we are asking for the $1.1 million again. It is still within the overall budget of our project. It's something we are still going to attempt to value engineer out, but we would like to ask the council for not only approval of the $1.1 million, but authorization to continue value engineering these further in a reduction. So staff does recommend approval.
Questions?
A quick question. I worked with ACS for many years. Did I understand correctly, the county's utilizing them as well?
No, the county's utilizing another, I think their whole construction contract, they included all the security, AV, and IT stuff in their construction contract. So they're using another individual entirely different. And so that's why it's going to take a little bit more of us working together, but the systems are compatible.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions?
I move to approve item 31 as presented.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Question? Call for vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Number 32, Chris, your time finally came. Deliberate and act on prioritization of projects to be considered for the Coastal Bend Council of Governments Community Development Block Grant Mitigation with Method of Distribution Projects. Kimberly, you and the chief took care of the meeting, didn't you?
Yeah, new subject matter for me, though. not one where I'm asking y'all for money, but one I get to help y'all spend some. So I'm sure most of you are aware of the mitigation funds rolling down from the GLO through our local coastal bend COG, and we're going to receive $3.4 million and some change, of which we have to spend 41% of that on low to moderate income projects. The staff have considered 4 projects for this, one of which y'all heard about a little bit earlier tonight, Basin 39 being pulled from a current GLO project. We would like to add that to this project. So I don't know if y'all want me to give you summaries of these 4 projects we're looking at, or if there was sufficient data in there for y'all to kind of give some direction. We've already started the RFP process for grant administration. That's already out for bid. It's due later this week, and we'll be bringing that before council in early January. Depending on what y'all say tonight, we're going to then go out for RFP for a engineer for the grant, and then that process will go RFQ process for that, and they'll be back to y'all for approval in late January. And in that process of all of that fun stuff, we're also going to be holding a 14-day public comment period. All this has to be wrapped up by February 21st, I believe. And so we're going to be hop, skipping, and jumping really quickly to get these projects together. These are just the 4 we've brought forward to y'all, and I don't know if y'all have any questions, concerns, things of that nature. We do want to make sure that we spend all the money. The GLO says they do not want us to some grants you go, oh, it's $200,000, we're only going to spend $175. No, they want us to spend the whole kit and caboodle. So I will tell you, in order for us to do that, we may be coming back to y'all for a little bit of money to make sure. I can't exactly make all projects come out to $3,447,500. I'm going to go over it just a little bit to make sure I spend all of it. So eventually I will come back to y'all.
What you're asking then is we look at these and try to prioritize these 4 items in what we would consider to be a good order.
Yes, sir, and we'll start, once we have them prioritized, those will be where we focus. And if y'all have something else in consideration, we can discuss that as well.
Looking at these, and I'll do it because I was working on this the last thing this afternoon, I'm still thinking about it. Looking at these 4 particular items, the one I see as priority would be the one that I think deals with health and safety, and that's that area over off Young Street, with the police having 39 calls in there and all the other things that are going on at that place. I know that old building is ramshackled and is a mess. I have not been inside of it since the storm, but it was wearing out and not doing very well before the storm. And it's just not the greatest place in the world. I would consider that to be number 1 priority because I believe it's a health and safety issue. The second, I think, is emergency communication. It has effect on us and the city and being able to get communication out after a storm or any kind of incident we had like in 2017 when we were isolated and couldn't contact anybody. And then the other 2 deal with drainage mostly. I consider probably the Salt Lake Basin area to be worse because of some of the problems I know of out there. I have them 3rd and the other for 4. C is 4 for me.
For me, it's always going to be drainage first. So we've been there in mind.
Well, that was gonna be my question, real quick. Where's C at?
Yeah,
I hope it's in Ward 1.
I'm guessing it's probably South Rockport-ish.
So we would not
Or-
want to identify that except in
It's
executive session.
understood.
However, let me just interrupt. I think we can accomplish all of these with this and a little bit of money. So prioritize them is great, but we do think we can get them all done. How about if we feel like we're gonna have to cut something? How about then we ask for the prioritization? Right now,
I'm at 2,060,000.
But remember, you got to have engineering and administrative costs
we have
added in
to
that.
include-
Those are not added into those numbers. Those were just potential construction numbers.
Rock also at 10%.
want to know if you guys agree with these projects, or if there is something else you need to see on this list before we make these the priority.
No, I mean, my personal opinion is, yeah, the Young Street Nursing Home is a health and safety issue for the city of Rockport. It was in bad shape before Harvey, as the mayor stated. And then, of course, the drainage projects and always concern. And then the emergency communication. Yeah, I'm good with these 4 projects. I can't think off the top of my head that I have another one that is higher priority that.
And if we, like, we're working on negotiation on Young Street, I don't think there's anything guaranteed on that. But if we get something on that that's solid, we'll pull this out, we'll slip something else in, bring it back to you. You know, we're gonna bring anything we wanna spend that money on to you guys. It's gotta be approved by you, make sure you agree with this.
I'm happy
The-
with it.
I'm happy with these 4.
The Young Street, the nursing home, is it still privately owned? And
It is.
and if we spend any grant money or city money on it, are we providing a lien?
Well, yes.
Or I'm sorry, is that a legal question?
No, that is a very good question. If it goes straight through that we demo it, we will put a lien on the property. Hopefully, we can negotiate something that comes out better for the city.
I haven't looked at it in a while to see who owns it,
Same people, hasn't changed.
Okay.
But we're working all the angles.
Okay.
We're gonna make this money go as far as we can.
I would just say, Vanessa, we've talked about the mitigation action plan that's floating out there. Admittedly, I don't know what all's in there, what's already being touched. And so, you know, I trust staff that you all have selected good projects, but I'm also not a fan of going to find new opportunities if we've already identified things. You know, make sure that we're looking at those and making thoughtful decisions why we're not going to move forward on it. And things have changed, right? But there's so many projects in play right now. Just go back and just double check, and especially as we go into next year, we're going to have to revisit the mitigation plan. We have to answer for every single one of those items, where they're at, why they're not going to be continued, or are they going to be continued. And it's really nice to be able to show we're pulling projects that were existing, not just making new stuff up because we got another $3-something million. But
Yes,
and then my last on this, just, you know, the LMI, assuming all 4 of these move forward, that 1 point whatever is going to be.
It'll be met.
Okay, good.
Yes, ma'am.
It is required to be met.
We don't have an option.
Right.
One more, so it is for reduced disaster risks. Would be adding sewer to certain areas, reduce disaster risk, coming off septic and into sewer?
I mean, we can.
That seems like a stretch, but.
We can work on that. If that's something we want to do, if that's something you want to prioritize in this area, we can get a legal opinion and, I mean, we can make it fit. Come on.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it's a really good idea, Brad. I mean, it's worth.
I see where he's headed and.
You're asking.
So we also, we need to talk about the obligation to provide sewer, and is our obligation to provide that sewer for free or for a fee? So when you hooked into sewer, you paid for it or your developer paid for it? So now do the new areas, are they gonna be required to pay for it, or is the city obligated to provide that for free? That's a philosophical question that y'all need to answer before we start making our next budget year, I think.
Okay.
For sure. And it would go along with this, you know, you need to answer that philosophical question.
I see getting it at least in the near proximity, definitely. I mean, we'll have to discuss this further, but, you know, lift stations, things like that, you know, the infrastructure that's not bore on the individual resident. Now, an actual tie-in for the resident, that's, I think, maybe different. But we've got areas where we got long runs that need to be made.
So, but if I make that run and nobody commits to pay their fee to go on it, I've got a sewer line to nowhere that the city
has paid for. So there's a bigger philosophical question that has to be answered around this sewer, and I think it probably will be on a workshop.
No way.
So,
Okay, do we need action on this?
Yes, ma'am.
no,
No.
I heard everybody say that they do not oppose this list and would like for us to go forward under this vein. Okay, that's all we need to do.
All right. Next item, item number 33, deliberate and act on authorization to explore options to purchase a small utility vehicle golf cart for event transportation and council event transportation, authorize sale of existing float.
This is one thing that could push to January, but why don't we just buy a golf cart? That's what you're using, we can take it anywhere easily. Nobody has to spend extensive amount of time decorating a golf cart. We can put some ribbons and a sign and everybody's good to go. And then we can use it for other uses. You know, we're renting golf carts for things now. Not that we want to just wear down the city council's golf cart, but it makes sense to me for that to be your float.
I think we need to get a sand rail.
I think only if you drive it and wear a helmet and that hat you had on today at lunch.
Yes.
The golf cart works great. It has worked great for us. Would that also be useful to other departments?
That's what I'm saying. There's other
Versus a UTV or something,
Yeah.
something.
Whatever we buy. If we bought a UTV, we could use it in other places. And that was my thought. We're renting golf carts for events.
I mean, golf carts it's good for what it is.
It can hold 6 of you. That's the whole point. If we go to a bigger vehicle, you know, we can utilize what we have. Remember, you only have $20,000.
Yeah.
So
and in the hot funds, I guess my concern was if we use hot funds for it,
we can use it for events.
and it can't be used, the other departments couldn't use it for day-to-day operations.
Probably not.
Yeah, I think that
I
would be.
mean,
I think that could be called on, but maybe. But if we use it for.
to me, it makes sense rather than try to do another float.
Yeah.
So what I'm asking for is approval to move forward with the purchase of some sort of vehicle that is within your budget and the authority to sell the existing float.
There's no use out of the existing trailer?
Nope.
Thing?
We want it gone.
Okay.
Vanessa, we titled the item to explore options of purchasing. We didn't ask for approval to purchase.
Oh. Yes, I would have to bring the purchase back to you. Yes. No. I'm sorry, I thought that was.
What we need to do is say, yes, it sounds like a good idea, go do that.
And yes, I can sell the other one. Can I sell, is that on there?
Yes.
So I need a vote to sell the other one.
I move to approve agenda item 33 as presented.
Thank you.
I have motion and second, any further debate or question? If not, call for a vote, Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye.
We
Number
will
34.
add any profit from the sale of the existing one to your budget. Okay, how about that? This will be quickest thing you've heard all night. Here, we're getting into the budget stuff, kind of wrangling it into my office and getting it under control now. So you will see something like this every month. This is specifically the unspent bond projects. This is the accounting of the money, where it's going, where it's supposed to go, what we've done with it to date, what's been expended, etc. Of note, there's like 119,000 from the 2007 bonds that was supposed to be used on parks. I have not allocated it in here because everything's coming in over budget. And so we're chipping away at it, adding it to, for example, we added 84,000 to ADA compliance out of that money. So there's 115 left, and I'm just using it as an overage fund. So as bids come in over, we'll take a little bit out of it until it's gone. But this is the accounting for everything that you guys approved to spend those bond funds on. I will love to answer questions, and I will be here all week. Try the veal.
Oh. Back over here to the front. Okay. City council to hold an executive session pursuant to, no, we're gonna give you reports from the council and everybody else first. Then we're gonna do that. Reports from council, Ward 1.
Ward 1 is hopping for Christmas. Tropical Christmas was a fabulous event. Christmas in the district was exactly what we needed. Instead of an all-day event, we needed a 4-hour event. It was wildly successful. Please support all of your local shop owners for Christmas present. South Rockport Neighbors is having their Christmas party on Thursday night at 7 o'clock at that one trailer park. I'm sorry?
In Oaks, Taylor Oaks.
Taylor Oaks. Always a good time. Arcad is got all the lights up downtown. Looks great at night. Go take a look. Drive down to Austin and see all the lights, including the Memorial Park. And that's it.
All right, Ward 2.
Last week was the Stormwater and Floodplain Management Advisory Committee. I attended as a fly on the wall. There was some discussion about the county grant submission for the Thule Watershed Management Plan, and some discussion on expanding the scope of that grant application to make it more comprehensive of nature. That was the extent of my notes, and Mayor may have taken better notes than I did, and I'll defer the rest to him on that. Other than that, just enjoy this next couple of weeks and spend some time with your family and friends and loved ones, and make sure you're taking care of those who are less fortunate in any way that you can.
Thank you. Brad?
Everything's happened in Katie's ward since last council meeting. Ward 1's been very busy over there with all the celebrations y'all been having, but they were all very well attended. I would say the Parks Department did a phenomenal job getting a lot of those things together, along with other departments in the city, and with the assistance of the NAV district letting us use the beach park for fireworks and a big parade for us. That was very well attended, and everybody seemed like they had a good time. This weekend I got to attend the fly-in out at the airport, and I want to commend the county and the airport for an awesome event out there. That was also well attended, and if you liked airplanes, then it was pretty cool. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, enjoy the time with your family, and we'll see you back next year.
Okay. First off, yes, I attended the opening of the Art Center on Saturday. The building is absolutely gorgeous. I think they did a great job, and it was very nice to be able to go and actually see it open in with all the hard work y'all had put into it these last couple of years. Also, in the country club, I heard today that the pipe is laid and it's actually on schedule, and they're doing a very good job, and they're happy with, the workers, so we're very excited about that. I had this all in my head, and now I'm like, hey. Another, just something to keep in mind, I went to the governmental affairs, and what we do is we have a meeting once a month, and we get to go over, federal, state, local legislation and everything, and we actually hold a thing called a Day at the Capitol. So that's on March 24th. That's just a date to everyone to keep in mind. Anyone's welcome to come, and you get to go and you get to talk to people about things that are important to you, and just go into sessions, and we have appointments, so it's something just to keep in mind. And then I think that's about it. Otherwise, like everyone else said, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we will see you guys next year. Well, I guess we have executive session, come on, but after that. Yes.
I also attended the Art Center opening, and it was really special. It is a beautiful place down there. I know some people have said frequently that it doesn't appear to fit in the downtown area very well, but if you go inside there, it's a very neat place. You feel like you're in it's like walking in some place and taking a breath of air, just a little bit different than where you were, and it's just nice to see that kind of thing. It's not that it changes the ambiance or whatever of our city, it doesn't, but it is a very nice place. It's beautiful. The people that were there were amazed. We had a large group of folks walking through and looking at all the displays and the gift shops, and people from out of town were amazed that it was in Rockport. They were really impressed. So it was great. I spent 2 hours walking downtown in the dark, looking at the lights. I was supposedly judging Christmas lights down there on all the businesses and filling out a form for the art folks. And I was surprised to find out that walking in the dark down there all by yourself, nobody ever bothers you. I didn't see a soul that wanted to mug me. All the folks that were downtown were talking about the food they just ate at Latitudes or at somewhere else, and we're having a really decent and nice time. I was told you could do this judging sitting in your car, but you can't even read the name of the store sitting in your car. So wandered the streets for 2 hours downtown and enjoyed it. I am like everybody else. I want everybody to have a wonderful time with your family. Do remember that this time of year is also very difficult for a lot of people who have lost loved ones, have sick loved ones, I know people who are suddenly having to take cancer treatments and things, and that messes with your Christmas. And there are people that really need somebody to say something kind to them and let them know that somebody somewhere on earth cares about them. And we've got not a lot, but we've got homeless people. There are folks that just need to hear something positive from us, and we need to remember that. I appreciate all of y'all very much, and I don't get to tell you that very often, but I appreciate sitting here with every one of you. I'm amazed we got through tonight as early as we're getting through. But thank you for all you do, and I will see y'all next year. We are going to be in executive session. Under the provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, in accordance with authority contained in Section 551.071, consultations with attorneys seeking advice from an attorney about pending or contemplated litigation or a settlement offer, and on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter. 1, Burnside Services, Inc., 2, Concho Street Drainage Project, and 3, whatever that says, Bakra Kumar Patel and Kokamura, whatever, Mr. Patel, and the City of Rockport versus the City of Rockport. And also personnel matters deliberate, Section 551.074, personnel matters deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of public officer or employee. A, the city secretary evaluation. B, municipal court judge evaluation. C, municipal court administrator evaluation. And D, the city attorney. We are in executive session. It is 9:33. N16, we're back in regular session. Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? We're adjourned.
Teresa, did you get that?